Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our moderator for this evening, host of A More Perfect Union and KBLA White House correspondent, Dr. Nee Cordelai-Cortete.
Hello, hello, hello. Hello, hello, hello. Y'all like Magic City? Ooh, wasn't it good? Let's give them a hand. Let me tell you, aside from the White House, this is the best assignment one could wish for. I want to welcome to the stage two amazing creatives that helped to bring this film to life. I want to welcome Cole Brown, the creator and executive producer. He is an author, producer, a political commentator of Cole Brown's first book, Gray Boy, Finding Blackness in a White World. He's also nominated for an NAACP Image Award and selected for Steph Curry's underrated book club. This is his latest feat. Give him another hand. And please welcome Charles Todd. He directed the 2024 streaming movie, Memes and Nightmares. In 2020, he directed a televised special featuring spoken word performances about conversations exploring healing for the Black community in the aftermath of George Floyd. He's worked with Rihanna, Jay-Z, Beyonce, and now this bit of magic on the screen. Welcome. Well, gents, great film, great series.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Yeah, it feels good.
It's great to have you here. I want to first start off by the origin story around this series. Why this story? Why now? And why Starz?
So I can start. First, I got to say I've been coming to the Vineyard since I was 0. So it is a trip to even be on this stage with so many of y'all. This is like so exciting for me. So Magic City. So I as you mentioned, I started, most of my career writing. I wrote a couple of books, including Gray Boy that you mentioned, and a couple of others. And Jermaine Dupri, who obviously ended up being an executive producer, he had asked me to come down to Atlanta to help him work on his book. So we were working on his memoir together. And I remember so clearly being in his studio, and he was telling me stories of how he was creating his hits. And he was creating them in this place that I had heard of called Magic City. And he was going to Magic City with Janet Jackson and Quincy Jones, and he had this story about Michael Jordan but also like a state senator and some of the biggest drug dealers in America. And I was just like, what is this place? Like, how is it possible that this cross-section of humanity is all in a strip club together? So pretty quickly, JD and I had some conversations that were like, hey man, like I love the book idea, but there really might be something here. And he eventually came on as an executive producer. Jamie Gertz, who is listed in the credits, who owns the Atlanta Hawks, they were willing to come on and be really supportive of the project. And then obviously, there was also Drake, who came on as an executive producer, and then quickly found Chaz. We were introduced, and he just did a masterful job with directing it.
Yeah, and I mean, for me, not mentioning the projects I had just done a project with CNN that was about Black scuba divers searching for sunken slave ships. So the idea of going from that to Magic City was, it was quite the experience. And
Scuba divers?
Yeah, along the Florida Keys. But,
Range.
Yeah, exactly. But I think for me, and, one of the first conversations Cole and I had was, okay, well, what is the right way to tell this story? What is the purpose of telling this story? How do we do it with intention? How do we do it with empathy for our subjects? And how do we subvert the expectations of what an audience might think might be a traditional sex work, strip club documentary? And once we were aligned with that, and then having all the music tie-ins, it was like, well, we have to do this together. It was really the perfect partnership. And Starz celebrated that as well.
Talk to us about the creative decision to feature Gail at the very beginning, talking about how, she didn't know her husband was purchasing a strip club. Yeah. I don't know how you hide that from anybody. How you hide a strip club from a Black woman? I don't understand. Talk to us about why you decided to put that tidbit up front as opposed to a little bit later.
Yeah, there's a lot of reasons. One of which is we wanted from the beginning to center the stories around the women that are a part of this club. And obviously the first thing you think of is, oh, the dancers past and present and how this changed their life. But when you think about someone like Gail, who is raising kids while her husband is going off to work, not fully understanding what the work is, but money's coming in, it's complicated, you know? And I think Gail, in some regards, is really the heart of the film. She gives an angle that's, you know, not really seen, not really told, and everything we want to do is to shine a light and tell those stories, because those stories matter just as much as Magic or Shaq or T.I. or everyone else.
If I can add one thing to that, I'll just say that the core of this project, like we talked about this a bit beforehand, like there's so much glitz and glamour around Magic City and the strip club, and like that might all be reasons to come to the doc, but once you get there, the core of this project is so much about this family business, and this, you know, and really it is truly a family business. Michael Barney founded it and is now handing it down to his sons, and across the series, we really want you to see one, like, celebrate what he was able to accomplish, but also at what cost. And I think Gail, in so many ways, speaks to the costs kind of across the series.
We're going to talk about Black entrepreneurship in a minute, but by show of hands, how many folks here have actually ever attended Magic City?
Oh, hell yeah.
There we go.
Ooh.
This crowd knows.
Yeah. We got saints and sinners in the house.
Yeah.
We got it. Okay.
Yeah.
I see all of you.
And now raise your hand if you're lying. Yeah.
Blink twice if you don't feel safe.
Exactly.
That's all right. Listen, talk to us about the decision in how much stripping and nudity to include in this film, because, you know, when I first heard about this project, I thought there was going to be a lot more stripping in the project, and it turns out that there are some elements of that, but there's so much more.
Yeah, I'll take a first step. We had so many conversations about that. You know, Magic City is a fully nude strip club, but if you'll notice, you didn't see like bottoms in the, well, you saw bottoms, but you didn't see. Anyways, in
No PETA.
yes, in a lot, because it was like at every turn, and I think that we combed the series with sort of a fine-tuned comb around this, was just like we never wanted it to feel gratuitous. You can't tell this story without showing nudity, but many of the scenes where you're seeing, you know, like exposed chest, you're seeing it in really like the most artful way we could possibly try to do it. Like you're seeing these like, you know, sets that are sort of really beautifully shot. So we really wanted every time we're showing nudity for it to be in that light and never to feel as though sort of we're guilty of some of the objectification and so forth that is often, you know, thrown at many of the patrons in the place.
Yeah, I mean, it's you want to tell the truth at the end of the day, and nudity is a part of that culture. And what is important is to not look at nudity as being taboo, right? Because for the subjects of this film, the women specifically, nudity isn't taboo. And in some regards, nudity can be quite empowering and powerful. And so in some of the conversations that we were having off camera with the dancers and just saying, okay, well, how do you want to be presented? When do you feel the most beautiful? What poses make the most sense for you in showcasing your beauty? That's how we arrived at some of those surrealist sets and some of those sort of more fantastical elements in conversation with the dancers instead of directing what something should be.
And just to piggyback on that, I mean, a lot of these women are really proud of what they do and really excited to be participating in this project. So when you see those sets, so much of exactly what Chaz said, I mean, they were so excited that they could be celebrated and put in that light and really excited to participate. And that felt good as well, you know, that we were sort of giving them, showing them in a light that they felt as though they had been deprived of for a long time in their careers.
Yeah. Let's talk about Black entrepreneurship. As much as this story is about the cultural significance of Magic City, of the strip club, you know, it's also a story about the benefits and the pitfalls of Black entrepreneurship. Talk to us about your decision to put Black entrepreneurship front and center.
Yeah, when I first came across the story, so this story had not really been told in any real format. So there wasn't like an article or a book that we could go read. A lot of this came together really from just like hunting around Atlanta, listening to people. And once I first got a grip on the story, it felt in so many ways like a classic American story, like a Carnegie story, like a Rockefeller story. And the reason that it hadn't been seen in that light was because he looks like us and because of the industry that he chose. But if you think about what he did, moving from Camden in the late 70s, creating this club, turning it into a true empire, and now handing it down to his sons, that's a story that we in America are familiar with. And it has all of the sort of blood and sin and excess and treasure that those Carnegie, Rockefeller, Kennedy stories have. So that's what was exciting to me, was exactly what you said, the entrepreneurship angle, like casting this in the same light that we readily cast so many of our sort of American heroes in. And yes, and it came with all sorts of challenges. You know, we talk about the Olympic cleanup. Mr. Magic, as you will see, eventually goes to prison for quite some time. And much of that comes with his success. So it really is an incredible story. And to see where he is now, you know, that club is still open today and it's still at the height of its game. That's what was exciting, sort of following that path.
And I think, you know, all of that is so central to the story. And then also, when you spend time in Atlanta, Atlanta is a entrepreneurial capital. It really, really is. Whether you're an aspiring musician, whether you're an aspiring doctor, what have you, everyone there has a dream. And more importantly than that, everyone there works really hard to make that dream a reality. And you see that, I mean, you see it all over the city, but you see it at Magic City as well. You know, you spend time upstairs and it's the saturated colors and the strobing lights. And then you go downstairs, and that is 100% a place of business. You know, like there are conversations. It's I think it's in the next episode talking about like what dancers are doing downstairs. Like there are dancers doing real estate, studying for their law degrees. There are dancers day trading. Like it is so different than what you might expect, not having spent time in a place of business like that, a place of business that reflects, quite honestly, not unlike the places that we work as well, you know? So just wanted to spotlight that.
And speaking of dreams, I mean, you know, we heard a lot from the voices of the women. And what I like so much about the series is that you all didn't flinch in terms of centering women's agency and influence. Again, you know, a lot of folks, you know, sort of take pity, you know, on strippers. There was nothing to take pity about, at least in the first 3 episodes of this series. But that doesn't mean that there weren't difficulties in their lives as strippers. Strawberry said in the film that, quotes, "It was hard to walk away from stripping even after that open casket funeral of the murdered strippers. Why was it important for you to include that perspective? I mean, we see them as sort of strong and asserting their agency, you know, but there was a moment there where it's like, well, yeah, but I can't walk away.
Yeah, I think that, again, one of the things that was interesting to me about this story is that if you look at the club environment, you have management, you have patrons, and you have employees, in this case, you know, the dancers, and all three of these parties think that they're the most powerful people in the space. And they can't all be right at the same time. So that question of sort of agency and self-determinism versus, you know, victimhood is complicated. Like, I don't want to act like, and I don't think we tried to at any point, you know, plant our flag in the ground and say it is always this, because at the same time as so many of these women feel self-actualized by being on this stage and are proud of their art and are some of the strongest, most independent, entrepreneurial women I've ever met in my life, they are also in an environment that is inherently at times unsafe. Not necessarily within the confines of the club, but they eventually have to leave that club. I mean, you know, like it is an unsafe place to be at times, in the parking lot, certainly. So to be Pollyannish about it, to pretend as though, you know, it's all good, or to pretend as though it's all bad, both of those would be an untrue telling of this story.
Yeah, I agree that the characters that you feature in this film are multi-dimensional, right? As most of the women we know are multi-dimensional, right? Women, right? So that was really good to see. let's talk about some of the music. How did you get these folks to talk about some of the music that was made possible because of Magic City?
Yeah, spend time in Atlanta. You know what I mean? Like, people in Atlanta are proud to be from Atlanta, and they will very quickly correct you if you were telling the story the wrong way. You know what I mean? So it is, it's, you know, I'm coming, I'm not even gonna lie, I'm coming from Los Angeles, right? So I'm coming from the West Coast, and they're like, what is Hollywood doing down in Atlanta, da 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 da. So a lot of the trust that we had to earn was willing to sit there and listen and understand how hip hop migrated from the East Coast and the West Coast down south, why all these artists felt they were never given the respect that they truly deserved, and also give everyone the understanding that this is a time to sort of, A, set the record straight, and also give the South its flowers, right? So once we get into that space of, hey, we're gonna actually rewrite the history books to a more accurate depiction of what was actually happening, that's when people feel comfortable, and that's when they open up to you, and that's when they share all these amazing stories.
It also spoke to a lot of the relationships that they have with Mr. Magic the Man. I mean, like we felt like we were chasing folks down, but once they found out that this was the real thing, that, you know, the Mr. Magic is really in this and we're going to tell this story the right way. I mean, you heard in the very beginning what people say about him. All of those celebrities really know this guy. He is a godfather figure in that city. He is a respected businessman in that city. So a lot of people were really excited, really, to show up and contribute to his legacy as well.
Now, how many folks were surprised to hear the background story on Nelly's tip drill video?
No, they didn't see it.
Oh.
They didn't. Come on, man. Come on, brother.
Wow, that's crazy.
Oops.
Episode 3 goes crazy. You know.
Episode 3.
This is why you should never watch more episodes than the audience. So you have something to look forward to there. My bad. But there were a lot of other songs. Whoop, There It Is, right? A lot of social deaf music that came out of there. You know, talk to us about how that helped Atlanta to rapidly sort of develop the identity that it has. Magic City. You know, a lot of folks are like, oh, it's just a strip club. Well, if you live in Atlanta, no, it's more than just a strip club. I can't tell you how many friends I've talked to that, you know, went to Morehouse or Spelman or Clark Atlanta. Are y'all here? Who have such fond memories of going to Magic City, you know, and getting Hennessy and chicken wings and all of that, right? You know, you all did a really good job capturing Magic City as a cultural institution and not just a strip club. That's not easy to do. Talk to us about some of the challenges you had in doing that.
Yeah, sure. I think the challenge for us is there's so much history tied up in Magic City, you know, and from the beginning, Cole and I and our fabulous producing team had 4 pillars that we wanted to sort of explore across this 5-episode series. So we wanted to tell the history of Atlanta. We wanted to tell the stories of dancers past and present. We wanted to tell hip-hop's migration from East Coast, West Coast, down to the South. And then we wanted to tell what is also a family-owned and operated business, a family story. You know, these episodes are 25 to 30 minutes long. Every second is fighting for screen time. Each of those pillars deserves its own time, you know, in the sun, but we're always having to sort of refine and trim and edit to what is the most pure distillation of what's happening, because otherwise, you know, this series would be a 10-part series. And so that was challenging, but I think what ultimately worked for us was coming back to community. There's a community tie for each of those pillars, and that ended up being our guiding light. How do we make sure this feels and represents the community of Atlanta, the community of Magic City, the community of these dancers, the community of the artists as well? Like, that was sort of our through line.
Cole, talk to us about your decision to include some of the background around the policing that was taking place in Atlanta. You alluded to it a moment ago, the 1996 Olympics. Was anybody there? Anybody in Atlanta in 1996? All right. This audience has been everywhere. In 1996, for folks who are less familiar, in preparation for the Olympics, the Atlanta Police Department deployed what's called the Red Dog Unit. And their mandate was to get drugs out of the city by basically hook or crook. Talk to us about the epidemic of policing Black entrepreneurship.
Yeah, I think that, there frankly could and probably should be a whole separate documentary on like the Red Dog history of Atlanta. It's really interesting that, basically the city gets this seemingly big gift in the Olympics, which, several years on will bring so much attention and light and joy and money to the city. But in preparation for that, they do what is called the Olympic cleanup. And we talked to not just Mr. Magic, but many business owners, both frankly legitimate and illegitimate, who got caught up in that cleanup. There was all sorts of quote unquote illicit industries that were really, they attempted to kind of push aside in preparation to receive the world. I think that Atlanta, that is just one element of exactly what Chaz said, which is, the entrepreneurship story specifically in Atlanta that we were trying to tell. Atlanta is such a unique place. It is, as much of this audience knows, it is a true Black Mecca. I think that Nelly says that at one point. And one question that I, as a Northerner, had when I went there is like, does that happen by happenstance, or are there structural things that led to this? So that's why you see, we spent some time on Maynard Jackson in the first episode, because you can't really tell the story of a successful Black business owner in Atlanta without mentioning Maynard Jackson, the first major Black mayor. And yeah,
Amen.
exactly.
Amen.
So hopefully you see that across the series. Again, we're trying to tell the story of this successful business owner, but we need to talk about the context in which his business was created, because it did so much to create fertile ground for that.
In our remaining minutes, I want to turn to legacy. This series is a part of not just your legacy, it's all of our legacies. Anybody who's ever attended Magic City, heard of Magic City, is tied to this. How would you like this series to be remembered, especially being that in this moment that we're living in, there are a lot of folks that are skeptical of institutions. A lot of folks are challenging respectability. And it seems that this series has offered us a window to look at those things a little differently.
Want to go? Yeah, I think as documentary filmmakers, we have a responsibility to tell history that otherwise would have been erased. And I think you're seeing that right now, even in classrooms, so on and so forth. There's sort of erasure of meaningful stories by people that look like us. And I think also probably further from that, division in general comes from a lack of empathy, understanding, and compassion. So it's also our responsibility to embed as much empathy into this series so people can see, oh, okay, maybe I entered this series with one thought about what Magic City is, one thought about what a dancer is, but I'm gonna leave with a totally different perspective. And having those types of conversations, that's how we tell a more holistic history. And that's how we sort of represent our culture in a way that feels told by us, So with this series, the legacy is the truth, the good, the bad, the ugly, the beautiful, all of it. Like, that's what we want this series to represent.
I should have gone first. I can't say it any better than that. That was I couldn't agree more. In all the stuff that I make, I want to tell Black stories that subvert expectations, and hopefully this does that. Like, if people come to this expecting one thing of a Magic City documentary and get something very different, then I feel as though we've succeeded. And then if there is one other thing, it's just that these are really thorny, complex issues that, frankly, I think we at times disagreed on, at times, never fully fleshed out. We really wrestled with a lot of these issues, the agency question that you bring up and several others. And if there is dialogue and discussion after watching this about those issues that is as complex as the issues themselves, that'll feel like a win as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, we can't tell that this was the first film that you all teamed up on, right? Isn't that marvelous? This is the first film that they've done together, first series, first of many. Our thanks to Cole Brown, the creator and executive producer, Charles Todd, the director of Magic City. Raise your hand if you're gonna go to Magic City.
Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Much love.